Hope yesterday went well. Hope you're having a good day today. So we are writing equations of quadratic functions, or parabolas actually. They're not all functions. And we're kind of using a vertex form to do it, but we're talking about it in a different way. So the big thing today is vocabulary. Alright, so if you've gone through the Nearpod lesson, which you should have done so by now, we have some important things to know. Vertex, we already knew that. That's the turning point. Focus is a point that's always inside of the parabola. The directrix is a line that's always outside the parabola. And then the axis of symmetry passes through the middle. And the axis of symmetry and the directrix are always going to be perpendicular. And we have parabolas that open up and down, which is what we're used to. And now we have parabolas that open right and left. So they basically are the same. It's just the x's and the y's have switched, which means the h and the k have also switched because that's our horizontal and our vertical translations. Okay, so that's kind of the big points to get across. Our equation looks almost exactly like vertex form, except we have not an a in front, it's a 1 over 4p. Okay, so if you know what the p value is, you can plug that in and get your answer. And then h and k is just from the vertex. Okay, so, let's fill that part in right here. Vertex is going to be h, k. And then axis of symmetry, the equation that we're looking at is a y equals, so our axis of symmetry would be x equals h. Alright. Alright, so P is the distance from the vertex to the focus or vertex to directrix. It doesn't matter because it's the same distance. Your vertex is always smack dab in the middle between the focus, which is the point, and then the directrix, which is that line. Okay, so you just have to draw a picture and then count. Right? And then P is positive when the parabola opens up, and then P is negative when the parabola opens down. That's exactly the same as talking about our A value, because essentially that's kind of what P is our A value. The A value is just 1 over 4p instead of just p by itself. But p is positive when it opens up, negative if it opens down. Makes sense. Alright, so example 1, we need to make a little picture, and I always suggest making a picture. Okay, so our focus is at 0, negative 2, so we'll plot a point at 0, negative 2. Okay, and then I'm going to label it with an F so I don't get confused and end up thinking that that's my vertex, because it's not. And then the directrix, that's a line that passes through, that's at y equals 2. So that means it passes through the y-axis at 2. Right there. Alright, so that's the information I have. Now I need to find the vertex, the direction that it opens, axis of symmetry, and then the p value. So my vertex is going to be halfway in between my focus and directrix. So if I count the entire way, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so then half of that would be 2. So I just need to count from the focus up to 1, 2, right here. It's kind of obvious that the origin was at the middle, but you know, just demonstrating. So the vertex is at 0, 0, and I'll label it with vertex at V. And then we need to draw our parabola. Now your parabolas don't have to be super accurate or anything. Like, you're not going to know how wide or how skinny to draw it. That's okay. We just need to know the direction. Do I draw this parabola up, down, left, or right? So if you have your vertex plotted and you have your focus plotted, that's the easiest way to do it. You just draw it through the vertex and around the focus. So I pretend it's Pac-Man and he's eating the dot. Okay, so you always want to be eating the focus and never ever pass through the directrix. If you're passing through a line, you're not doing it right. That line is a wall. Okay, do not hit the wall. Okay, so the direction, this one opens down. Axis of symmetry is going to be x equals, and then you just take the h from the vertex, it's hk, so x equals 0. and then P. Okay, so P, we've actually talked about it without talking about it. It's the distance from the vertex to the focus or vertex to directrix. It doesn't matter which way you count because it's exactly the same. Okay, so I like to count from points to points. So I go from the vertex to the focus if I can. All right, so that'd be 1, 2. So P is 2. But P is positive when the parabola opens up. P is negative if the parabola opens down. So P is negative 2. Okay. Last thing we need to do here is write the equation. So I'm copying it from the top of my screen. Y equals 1 over 4P x minus h squared plus k. All right, so y equals 1 over 4 times negative 2, filling in the p, parentheses x minus h is 0 squared plus k is also 0. And then all I'm going to do is clean this up a little bit. So y equals 1 over 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. It doesn't matter if you put the negative at the bottom of the fraction or in front of the fraction or even on top, as long as there's a negative there. And then you don't really have to write all the zeros, so you can just put x squared, and that's the same thing. All right, let's look at example 2. Write the equation of a parabola with focus at 1, 4. Okay, so let's plot that 1, 4. That's the focus. And then directrix is y equals negative 2, so pass through the y-axis at negative 2. Okay, that's the information they gave us. So now let's find the vertex. It should be halfway between the focus and directrix. So if I count all the way down to see how far it is, and then I'll figure out what is halfway. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units from focus to directrix. So half of that would be 3. So it would be 1, 2, 3 right there at 1, 1. That's where I need to plot the vertex. 1, 1. All right, now let's draw our parabola. So be sure it goes through the vertex and around the focus. It's Pac-Man. It wants to eat the dot. It doesn't go through walls. It's a terrible looking parabola, but whatever. All right, so direction, it opens up. Axis of symmetry is going to be x equals, and then you take the h from the vertex, which is 1. And then P is that half distance. It's the distance from the vertex to the focus. So it's 1, 2, 3. P equals 3. And it's opening up, so P is positive. All right, and now I'm just going to copy down that same equation from the top of my screen. And we're going to fill in P was 3, H is 1, plus K is 1. Be careful, if your H is ever a negative, then you end up with a minus sign and a negative, and it'll be a positive. Okay, so then just to clean it up a little bit on the bottom, 4 times 3 is 12. And then there's nothing really I can do with the rest of it, so. There you go, that is the equation of this parabola. All right, so now we're on to the second page. There's some U-try problems here at the bottom that I'm not going to do, y'all are going to do them. Just be careful whenever you're reading them because it gives you different information like vertex and directrix. That's different than the focus, okay? And then the second one gives you directrix and focus. And then the last one gives you the vertex. It tells you which direction it opens and tells you how far away the vertex is from the directrix. So it gives you different pieces of information so you can draw your picture and then find everything you need. All right, but we are going to do these two examples, example 3 and 4. And notice that our equation has changed on the top. Now it's x equals 1 over 4p y minus k squared plus h. So the x and the y switched, the h and the k switched. That's the important thing to see in that equation. And that's because our parabolas are opening to the side now. Right? That's what happens when you switch x and y. Okay, so our vertex is going to still be hk, that doesn't change. And then our axis of symmetry is now going to be y equals k. So on the first page it was x equals h, but now our axis of symmetry is going to be horizontal. so it'll be y equals k. And then P is positive if it opens to the right, and then negative if it opens to the left. Makes sense, because negative numbers are to the left and positive numbers to the right. It's the one thing about horizontal that's not backwards. All right, so let's do example 3. Our focus is at 3, 0. Label it with an F so I don't end up thinking that's the vertex. The directrix is x equals -3. So go to your x-axis. You need to draw the line that passes through the x-axis at -3. So it's like that. So my vertex is halfway in between. Well, without counting, I can kind of see the middle is going to be the origin. All right, so there's my vertex. So my vertex is at 0, 0, and then we're going to draw it around the focus. It's Pac-Man, he eats the dot. Don't hit the wall. And so my parabola is opening to the right. And the axis of symmetry is going to be y equals, and then you take the k value from the vertex, so that would be 0. Okay, and then P is the distance from vertex to focus, or you can count from vertex to directrix, either way, because it's the same distance. So that's 1, 2, 3. But is it +3 or -3? Well, it's opening to the right, where the positive numbers are, so it's positive. All right, and then our equation, I'm just gonna copy it down. X equals 1/4p y minus k squared plus h. Okay. Filling in, the p is 3, the k is 0, and the h is 0, which means we don't really need to write all of that information. So essentially it's just x equals 1/4 times 3 is 12, and then just y squared. You can get rid of all those zeros. Okay. Example 4, we got a focus at -3, 2. Okay, and directrix at x equals 1, so cross through the x-axis at 1. Alright, and then my vertex, oh, let me label that one was focus. Okay, so vertex halfway would be right here. It's 2 units away from each thing, 2 units from the focus, 2 units from directrix. And then I draw my parabola around the focus. Okay, so that vertex is -1, 2. Okay, and the direction is opening to the left. And then my axis of symmetry is y equals, and then you take the k from the vertex, so that's 2. And then P, the distance from focus to vertex is 2 units. But because we're opening to the left, it'll be a -2. So P is -2. And I copy down the equation. And remember, if I'm going too fast, this is a video, so you could stop it, rewind it, slow it down. Alright, 1/4, and then P is a -2, and then y minus k is 2 squared plus h, which is -1. Alright, almost done, just gotta clean it up. So 4 times -2 is -8, so it'll be 1/8. And then y minus 2 squared, and then right here, plus minus, just put -1. There you go, and that's the equation for that parabola. Alright, so once you understand how to make your picture, and you can find that p-value, everything else is pretty straightforward. Things don't really change with these parabolas. Alright, so that is it, and then y'all will have some practice on this tomorrow. Bye.